Hello, friends. It is my pleasure to welcome you to another episode of our broadcast, where we explain linguistic and sign language matters in plain words. Today, we shall be discussing multilingualism and linguistic diversity. Before I go on, may I remind you, if you have not downloaded our iHand sign app, after watching this episode, don't forget to go to Play Store or Apple Store to download our app. You can also subscribe to our website on your computer if you prefer the desktop version. All right, to our topic today, multilingualism and linguistic diversity. We will look at these two terms as they relate to sign language and the deaf people. In simple terms, multilingualism is a person's ability to speak two or more languages. Bilingualism refers to two languages only, while multilingualism is used when more than two languages are involved. Multilingualism is also applied at community level when a community is fluent in two or more languages. Remember, for there to be multilingualism, it means that humans have the ability and capability to speak more than one language, and in most cases, these languages are acquired or learned early in life. If you have watched our Linguistic Blank Slate episode, you will recall that we explained in that video a child's innate or God-given ability to acquire one or two languages in the earliest stage of a child's development. To understand this concept more, kindly go to our YouTube channel and look for the video Linguistic Blank Slate. Okay, multilingualism does not apply to a hearing person only. This is because the way a hearing child learns or acquires language is the same way a deaf child learns language. The only difference being the modality. Modality? What is that? Okay, never mind. Modality is simply a way or a means of doing things. For instance, hearing children learn a language through hearing and receiving sounds and repeating those sounds, while a deaf child learns a language by seeing hand and other body movements and mimicking those movements. In the same way, the deaf child has the capability to speak more than one language, and the advantages of speaking more than one language apply to a deaf child the way they apply to a hearing child. For instance, several studies in linguistics and child development have suggested that children that learn and use more than one language are most likely to do better in the classroom and in other learning behaviors too, much more than those that speak only one language. In other words, children with more than one language are likely to be smarter than those with one language. So, if multilingualism is a good thing for a deaf child, why do we practice a culture that restrains them? I know that some of you may be asking at this time, how can a deaf child speak or sign more than one language? Deaf multilingualism could be in two ways: a deaf child who signs and understands a written language, or a deaf child that is fluent in two or more sign languages. I would like to talk about the second option today. In Nigeria, for instance, where several deaf children have little or no access to sign language until they are enrolled in school, where they begin to learn the school sign language without any prior or earlier exposure to the sign language of their immediate environment. Such deaf children are restricted to only the sign language variety they learn in school, and so may not be able to learn any other sign language. But if such deaf children had acquired a sign language in their immediate environment before getting into school, automatically they would be exposed to a multilingual environment. And if well nurtured, they may become smarter than their mates. I hope I have been able to explain the concept of multilingualism to the best of my knowledge. If you have additional questions about today's discussion, kindly write us at info@indigenous-hands.com or info@sdle.org, or send us a message on any of our social media platforms, Advocates for the Indigenous African Sign Language on Facebook, or Indigenous Hands on Facebook, or SDLE on Facebook. Next week, we shall continue to discuss linguistic diversity as it concerns sign language and deaf linguistic communities. Remember to download iHands Sign Up from your Google or Apple store. I will see you next week.